So we've kind of been in a debate, kind of start trying to figure out what we want to do for episode 1, and so we thought we would just turn the camera on, get going, give you a little bit of background about us, how we met, and then of course talk to you about kind of our own individual introductions into functional medicine and how we got into this world. So you want to start how we met?
Well, my thought was I would introduce ourselves. Maybe they already know us.
We're Doc and Diana.
I'm Doc.
Not Diana.
It'd be really weird if I were Diana. I guess that's good enough. I'm Chad Edwards. I am a doctor of osteopathy, which means I have a medical degree and a license to practice medicine in all, well, not really a license to practice in all 50 states, but you can get licensed in all 50 states anyway. So, as Diana was talking about how we met, both of us have had, it's been a long road to get here.
Amen.
And we have a long way to go, which I think is part of why we wanted to do this show. So, how we met. Diana and I both went through a divorce separately. She went through her divorce, I went through my divorce. And yours was in 2013?
Yes. Started in 2013.
And mine was 2014, officially. And I deployed military. I deployed to Honduras in 2014. And as difficult as that timing was because of going through a divorce and all those kinds of things, is exactly where I was supposed to be at that time. But as I was going through a divorce, I was in my early 40s and getting divorced, and I had 2 kids, and I had this tremendous panic that I'm not gonna find somebody and who wants a divorced dad with 2 kids and like all this baggage, and so it was. I remember being very, very, very panicked, and I was like, how in the world am I gonna meet someone? And so I did what I would argue most people in the 2000 teens do, and so I went online. And the short story is I tried multiple different dating websites, and they were not, for the most part, they were not really a good experience. I wasn't looking for a hookup. I wasn't looking for anything like that. I wanted to find my best friend who would be my spouse and my mate in this journey of life. And I met some wonderful girls, but no one that I felt God was impressing me that she's the one. So I was on Match, and that's where ultimately we met. And I was reading through these profiles, and I really liked Diana's profile. And the next time I logged on, she had winked at me.
Oh, wait a minute. We'll clear that up in just a minute. Go ahead.
You can say whatever you want to.
I will.
But that's what happened. So we just kind of started talking, and here we are.
Yeah. So 2013, kind of in the same position as he was in. Found myself at the end of about a decade-long relationship with my marriage. And when you go through something like that, you do have that initial fear of who's going to want me. I was a teacher at the time, so you can imagine in the state of Oklahoma what my salary was like, trying to support 2 kids. And so it was a lot of personal growth, a lot of work, a lot of self-development in order to get to a place where I wanted to get back out there. So I had about a year under my belt before he started his journey. And again, like him, when you are in a classroom, for most of your day, and you've got kids of your own after that time is done, you don't have the energy to go out and really invest in a social life outside of that. And so one of the places to go for me was Match. I had tried one other prior to that one. And my journey on Match, of course, there were some failures, that it just didn't work out for one reason or the other. Now I know what that reason was.
Aww.
But just to go ahead and clarify some things and get you the honest facts, he winked at me first, and then we started talking. Basically, it took us a very long time to get to actually be face to face with each other. It was a lot of phone calls, text messages, emails.
We both had kids, and we didn't. We wanted to be appropriate with them, and in setting expectations, and so we took our time. We both knew that we weren't playing a game. This was serious and big business kind of deal. So we wanted to make sure that we were respecting each other and doing things right, and so it took a while.
It did. And so he cooked dinner for me for our first date. It was amazing.
And she agreed to a second.
Exactly. So, on a Friday night we had dinner, and then Saturday we came out to the land that he was purchasing that we're actually living on right now, and that's a good story all in and of itself.
Which will be integral to the show.
Yes, to what we're doing and trying to accomplish. So date number 2 was out here. A little bit of blood and sweat and four-wheelers and exploring the 35 acres that we were going to choose to build our life together on. And then the next day was church, and we saw each other pretty much every day after that.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. It was fast. When you know, you know. And so we knew fairly early. We met in August and ended up getting engaged in October. And then we got married about 3 weeks after the proposal, because why wait? We'd already did the big fancy thing, and we didn't want that. And so we had a lot of fun planning our living room wedding, wearing the same clothes that we wore on our first date.
Which to me meant a lot, and we're very proud of the fact that we spent $500 on our wedding, and we had
and we fed everybody.
And that was with feeding everybody. That was very small, but it meant a lot to us. And I don't mean to knock anybody that spends lots of money on their weddings and things like that, but this was important to us to do it this way, and I know I'm very glad that we did. And of course we had a lot going on. Diana was still teaching at the time, and I had the clinic, and that time at Revolution Health, which is my clinic, was rough. My ex-wife was the office manager as we were going through the divorce. There were employees. It was just an ongoing awful situation that just kept getting worse and worse over a period. And finally, after about a year, things started kind of turning around. And that's about, Diana and I met when things started kind of ticking back up. And we were finally getting our patients taken care of again. We were starting to deliver the customer service that we expected at that time, and getting good quality care. And before that, I lost most of my staff, and then I was trying to, and we had a fairly busy practice at the time. And so when you lose all your staff and your ability to train new people, and I was a single dad at home, and everything fell apart. It was a difficult time. So it was nice to be able to focus on just the important stuff. And then I think the next day after we got married,
that morning.
I think the next morning I came out and was working on the barn on the land, trying to build this pole barn, which me and a couple of colleagues built a 4,200 square foot, 60 by 70 pole barn, 22 feet tall, and well, I'll probably do a show, or we will do a show on the building of the pole barn, because even though Diana wasn't out there necessarily swinging a hammer most of the time, she was integral to that whole process, and it was a fun process, but it was interesting.
Definitely an adventure. And as we continue, we'll tell more about our story and some of the joys and the trials of blended family. You'll get to know our kids, our dogs, our chickens, and everything else that we've come to acquire and create a family and a farm with.
So our dogs. So I got to tell you a little bit about Diana and I and our dogs. So I have a dog named Lucy.
And we'll be sure to get you pictures. You can see her.
That's blonde. She's a blonde lab. Let's see if I can get her in here. Lucy, come here,
baby.
Let's see if we can get her in.
No, come here, Lucy.
Come here. Come over here. Hey, come here.
She's going her path of least
Come here.
resistance.
Come on. Look up here.
Hey, Lucy.
Can you get
You
get your head
can,
up here?
you can barely see the top of her
Lucy.
head. Come here.
She's a mess. This is her. This is Lucy.
There's Lucy.
So she's a bit of a mess, but she is a true sweetheart. Now Diana has a dog also named Lucy. Hi.
Who is also an absolute
Mess.
sweetheart.
Mess.
Sweetheart. Lucy is a Boston Terrier, and she is an amazing little breed that I did not do enough research on. We learned a lot about Boston Terriers, and
She bit me one day.
Chad adores her because he lost a fingernail to her. It was very interesting. There's been some power struggles, but I think everybody's kind of picked their lane and we're doing just fine right now.
So anyway, it was just, we got two Lucys, and so Diana's Lucy is Gizzy or Gizmo, and the blonde Lucy here is Doofy.
Yes.
It's a term of endearment. So anyway, that's a little of our background and how we met. There's a whole lot more to that story and how we got here, but we wanted to just give you a little bit of a background about how did we get Doc and Diana. And so it started with that in meeting each other. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I appreciated about Diana is that she was teaching, but she taught anatomy and physiology. So she's kind of in this medical science-y kind of realm, and I really appreciated that. And but then she also has a story, which we'll definitely have a show on that, or multiple shows on that. So she has a story about how nutrition, lifestyle, inflammation, environmental toxins, stress, all of those things caused her to not feel well, not do well, and she made a big change. When was that?
It's been about 9 years ago.
It's about 2010.
Yeah.
And like revolutionized the way she felt, and I'll let her tell more about that story. And I'll just give you a little bit of quick background about my history.
Are you talking, just so we know, you're giving kind of an introduction as to how you got into functional medicine and into perfect.
So we may give more detail about my past later, but I was military. I was enlisted for 11 years. Went to medical school and had the military pay for my medical school through what was called the Health Profession Scholarship Program, or HPSP. And then did my residency in family medicine, so I'm board certified in family medicine, and then served as a physician in the U.S. Army on active duty. I was with 5th Special Forces Group, got to work with some other special operations units, which was an incredible, amazing experience, and had some great experiences with some of the most elite warfighters in the world, and I wouldn't trade that for anything, and I have nothing but admiration for for all of those men and women. But you know, my marriage was rocky, and you know, I didn't know why, and I was trying to help put it back together. And my ex-wife, it seemed the best thing to do was to go ahead and get out of the military, go back home, and kind of reestablish family. So we did that. I went to work at a large hospital-based clinic in Tulsa, and I was there about 2 months, and pretty quickly realized that this was not going to work. I left the Army because, well, for multiple reasons, but I didn't see myself practicing medicine as a physician in the Army because I couldn't really practice medicine the way I wanted to practice medicine. I was dictated my schedule, and you know, it was like, you do things this way, and you know, I take care of my patients the way I felt like I needed to take care of them, but there was just, you're doing it their way. You're a cog in the wheel, and I knew that that was not my calling. So that was, you know, once I got out of the special operations and into the hospital, that became very clear. And you can't just stay in special operations as a physician in the military. You got to rotate in and out and do those things, and it's not the best thing for special operations either. You need some variability, a variety, different experiences and exposures. So got out, and then I realized that I left one big system and joined another big system, and I was just a cog in the wheel, and that wasn't going to work for me. And and we'll do another show on prolotherapy, but I was exposed to prolotherapy, and it revolutionized the health of my patients in regards to musculoskeletal pain. So like really anything from the base of the head down, as far as musculoskeletal pain, knee pain, back pain, ankle pain, wrist pain, you name a joint, we can pretty much treat it with prolotherapy, and the success rate is in excess of 85%. So it's a long story, but basically I saw that the medical literature says that prolotherapy doesn't work, but I saw in reality that it worked very, 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 very well. In fact, to this day, I've been doing prolotherapy 10 years, and I haven't seen anything more effective than prolotherapy in all that I've done in medicine. It is that good. And so when the studies say that it doesn't work, but I see that it does, I've got a problem. And so I started digging into literature, and it's just kind of like opening Pandora's box. You see that the medical literature says you have to do this. You know, you come in and the system says you only have 15 minutes to go over all of your problems, and of course you waited 3 weeks to get that appointment. And in the Army it's more like 8 weeks. And so you come in for your appointment, and you've got 5 things that you want to do. So you as the patient have an agenda, but the doctor has an agenda as well. And most of the time those two don't match up real well. You may want to complain about your headaches, but your doctor sees that your blood pressure is 200 over 120, and maybe we'll get you a pill for your blood pressure, we'll get you a pill for your headache, and you're out the door. And that's just not how I think medicine should go. No one is looking at, why is your blood pressure 200 over 120? Why do you have headaches? What in your environment is doing this? What about your nutrition? All those kinds of things. And so when I heard Diana's story and how she changed her life, it fit very well into what I had established in Revolution Health and Wellness Clinic. So when I left Warren Clinic, I opened a functional integrative medicine clinic where our focus is the individual patient and why are they, if they're optimally healthy, then great, but if they're not, why? And what can we change to get them optimally healthy? And certainly sometimes medications play a role. I mean, I prescribe medications almost every day. However, they have to be used appropriately, in the right doses, and consider side effects, and consider that the patient is the center of this, not some metric for a number of blood pressure, and I can report to my peers or my supervisors and say 90% of my patients have blood pressure under 140 over 90. That's not what it's about. It's about taking care of the individual patient that's there. And we'll spend a lot more time on the show going over functional integrative medicine, what it is, and why are we branching so far beyond, because as we're getting ready to talk about in a minute, this show is going to be about much more than just functional medicine, or at least on the surface. It's going to be about much more than that. And so anyway, that's kind of a little bit of my story and how I got into doing what I'm doing.
Very nice. So as you alluded, mine started around 2010. Basically, I had gotten myself into a health crisis, and traditional Western medicine had completely failed. I lost my gallbladder over the situation, still didn't get any relief.
She still hasn't found it, by the way.
Well, yeah, I don't want it back right now.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know, I had gone through two healthy pregnancies, healthy deliveries, healthy babies, all those traditional things, and you just kind of got to the age where you just assumed, hey, this is how it's supposed to go. I'm getting older. Mine seemed to be pretty significant and magnified on certain days, and I just couldn't find any relief. So I finally went to a naturopath, and that was kind of my gateway into, my goodness, medicine should be practiced so differently, and I should actually be more responsible for my own medical care. So I did a complete overhaul, starting with nutrition. I did a 3-week elimination diet. I ended up losing a significant amount of weight, but even beside that, I lost all my symptoms, and that was huge. We'll get into that story, you know, as we continue with this, get into some more specifics. The summary is, I healed my gut, I changed my lifestyle, and I am so much better for it. More energy for my kids, my life, my classroom at the time. It changed the way that I saw life, myself, how I wanted to interact with it, and that was big. Coming off of a significant relationship that had just failed, having something like that actually worked for me, it couldn't have happened at a better time, and I completely capitalized on it. I still live by those same principles, guiding principles to this day. I have now found a bigger platform. High school teenagers don't really care about what they eat. It doesn't matter how I talk to them about it. So I ended up, you know, leaving the classroom to help more with the clinic and the growth that we were experiencing there. But even beside that, I am now a certified functional medicine health coach. So when the providers in the clinic end up making recommendations for our patients, I can actually help them apply that to whatever that unique design is that works for their life. And we get to work through that and co-create plans together. And I'm seeing some huge successes, and I'm really excited about having that opportunity. So besides that, kind of a little background about us and how we got into this world of functional holistic living and medicine. What are we kind of hoping that this channel might do for us, for our listeners, our viewers? Kind of what are we hoping happens here?
Well, that's a good question. And you know, to be honest, we've been talking about this. We knew we were going to do a YouTube channel a month ago.
It's been a while.
Like, it just kind of, it was a huge epiphany, and we're like, we got to do this, and we've got to start getting the word out on a bunch of things, on a bunch of stuff. And so as soon as we did that, we're like, okay, what's episode number 1?
Oh, and then the pressure hits, because we have wrestled so long, and we want it to be so good, and we want it to reach so many, that there's a huge amount of pressure that comes with that. And so we'll talk later about perfection paralysis. We'll talk later about that. Right now we're trying to break through that. Honestly, for me, I think the bottom line is, I want to tell as many people as I can about the real things that changed my life, because they're applicable to so many who just don't know. And the way you're living now and the way you're feeling right now, you don't have to feel that way. Being tired, not being able to see the way out to take charge of your own health. There's so many options out there for you, and one of the big things that we want to get across is overcoming those mainstream obstacles that we hear our clients and patients say every day. We're going to try to show you how to make it affordable on any budget. Some of the small changes that you can make daily that will give you big results. excuse me. So what am I kind of hitting some of the big points? What else?
Yeah, it's, we got this idea because I was, we would like to see, and who knows if we'll ever get there. We got this idea. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Why not?
Dream big. Speak it out.
If it
Speak
happens,
it out
great.
Into the universe. Do it.
But the concept and the idea is to have, there's 3 tenets of optimal health: exercise, nutrition, and what I call the 3 R's, which is rest, getting good sleep, recovering from exercise so that you're not overtraining, and reducing stress. So kind of those 3 main focuses. And what we hear over and over again is that eating well, eating clean, costs a lot of money. Well, I was watching a YouTube video one day, and there's a guy that has a greenhouse, and he says that in his greenhouse he can feed 140 people for a year of organic, high-quality nutrition, and you can do it almost anywhere on the planet. And so I just got to thinking about this, and I got to thinking about a farm-to-table restaurant that is supplied by the local farm, and I'm talking the honey and the fish and the chicken and the meat and as in the beef, the pork, all of those things are directly from the farm, and then are processed and served in a sustainable way. All of the leftovers are then composted, and you got this whole
beautiful ecosystem.
Exactly.
Sustainable.
It's sustainability. And one of the things that the guy talked about in his greenhouse is that he sells oranges for $3.50 a pound, and he grows them in Nebraska in the winter. Long story. But he's making $3.50 a pound on his oranges. And according to him, the Florida orange growers are making 49 cents a pound. Now his are organic, Florida orange growers are not necessarily. So he's making 7 times the profit year-round on an organic food than these guys are making on a not necessarily organic crop. That means this is not more expensive. That means we're just doing it wrong. And just like with everything else, our podcast is Against the Grain Podcast. And if you go to our website, revolutionhealth.org, and click on podcast, we've got nearly 100 episodes of podcast out there. So go take a listen to a lot of those things. They're all medical related. But these are, this should not be more expensive. I think we can find a less expensive way to do this and save people money. And so you can do your Dave Ramsey plan, you can do all those things, and you can be holistically well and healthy.
Feel great. Whatever is optimal for you. This channel is going to give you lots of real tools that you can apply right away that are going to help you get to whatever that optimal level is for where you are and where you want to go. I think as we continue to do this and we continue to put episodes out, we would like to welcome you back to Revolution Ranch. We'll talk about our coaching business, we'll talk about functional medicine, but more importantly, we're going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about things that you can do right now that are going to make a change in your health and in your family.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
Awesome.
So be sure and help us spread the word. Subscribe. Follow us on Facebook. We don't have a Facebook yet, do we?
We'll let you know when that's up and running. Like I said, perfection paralysis will get you every time. Sometimes you just have to jump and then look later.
Yep. And so we'll be refining all of that. We'll get Instagram and all those kinds of things up and running with the Doc and Diana Show. So please subscribe, hit like, leave comments, help us grow this, and please give us feedback. If we're doing an awful job, let us know and how we can adjust. So thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.